Scotland Independence Live, Sturgeon to storm ahead with vote despite PM reckless claims. Scotland saw the SNP elected to form the next Scottish government for the fourth consecutive time, with Nicola Sturgeon vowing to press ahead with plans for a new referendum on leaving the UK. Scotland's First Minister Nicola Sturgeon has told Boris Johnson a second independence vote is a matter of when, not if, despite the PM claiming the move would rip the country apart. The Scottish National Party (SNP) signalled her readiness for a constitutional battle and a willingness to go head-to-head with Mr Johnson. Commentator Ian Jack highlighted a new tactic which could be employed in the event of a second independence referendum, first used during the 1979 vote on devolution. Outspoken journalist Andrew Neil has slammed Ms Sturgeon and called her a dodgy second-hand car dealer over her calls for a second independence referendum. He compared her to the character Arthur Daly from the sitcom Minder, slamming her actions over a second referendum vote. Conservative MP and Minister for Mental Health Nadine Dorries criticised Ms Sturgeon for not putting enough focus into the nation's recovery from the coronavirus pandemic. She said her focus on Scottish independence over COVID recovery is divisive, expensive and simply is not on our radar. Cabinet Minister Michael Gove has urged the Scottish First Minister to focus on coronavirus rather than Scottish independence. He said, "We should work together as Team UK in order to deal with the pandemic." Mr Gove added the SNP did not win an absolute majority and therefore the single focus should be dealing with the pandemic. The former Prime Minister told the BBC many people in Scotland consider themselves more Scottish than British. He said, "You see what has happened in Scotland is that people assume from London that it is 50-50. "50% hell-bent on independence, 50% dyed-in-the-wool unionists, that is not the Scotland I see." The middle Scotland that is about 40% of Scots, they are certainly more Scottish than British. They prefer Nicola Sturgeon obviously to Mr Boris Johnson. The leader of the House of Commons claimed David Cameron's decision to agree to a referendum in 2014 was very proper. Speaking on the Westminster Hour, Mr Rees-Mogg said, "I think David Cameron was extremely wise in the 2014 referendum to agree basically everything that the SNP wanted, so they got the votes at 16, they were able to set the question, because they then couldn't say afterwards that this vote was unfair, it was fiddled or in any way skewed against them, and that seems to me to have been a very proper referendum and it made a decision for a period of time." However, he added, "Inevitably it hasn't made a decision for all eternity." Mr. Johnson should refuse Ms. Sturgeon's demands for a second independence referendum according to a poll of Express.co.uk readers. In total, 55% of 11,853 voters said Mr. Johnson should reject the idea completely. However, 33%, equating to 3,877 readers, said the PM should call for a referendum immediately. Good Morning Britain's Susanna Reid today spoke out against SNP's Ian Blackford after he claimed the party's victory was a mandate for a second referendum vote on Scottish independence. Ms. Reid said, "It looks like people have voted for the leaders that have been in charge. We have seen that with Labour in Wales, we have seen that with Boris Johnson in England, and we have seen that with Nicola Sturgeon in Scotland." This was not a vote for independence. The polls do now show overwhelming support for independence. The Scottish First Minister told the Prime Minister it is absurd and completely outrageous for the British government to take legal action to prevent a referendum. She said it was a matter of Scotland choosing its own future. He said talk of ripping our country apart would be irresponsible and reckless. Ahead of the election, reports surfaced claiming Mr. Johnson is willing to take legal action to quash a second referendum vote. This legal action could see the PM take the SNP to the Supreme Court to prevent the party from unilaterally holding a referendum vote. The government could act on legal advice dating back to 2011, which implies the Scottish Parliament cannot proceed with a referendum without approval from the UK Parliament, according to The Telegraph. A government source told the publication, "If it comes to that, if those are the cards they play, I don't think the UK government can sit back and do nothing."